name is Mindy Silipo, and I teach English Language Arts here at Clearwater High School. This is my first year teaching. It's D.
I think it's D. Yeah. This is right here.
The biggest change in my planning as a result of this project was actually that I did a lot more chunking than I used to do before. I don't think that before I was breaking it down enough for the students, and once I started doing that, breaking it down more, they were starting to get it.
So maybe go back to your reading, and it says, what can you infer?
The biggest differences in the resources that I use now, I have started using much shorter texts, because we were using much longer texts that I think they were almost losing attention, and they weren't ready for that yet. And so when I started using those short synthesis articles, it was easier for them to understand the material, to get it, and then we could graduate into a longer text. And with those short synthesis articles, one of the most valuable things that we taught with them was the elaboration piece. And that was the biggest takeaway that my students had from the FSA. We used the technique of CC, where during their body paragraphs, they had to use claim, evidence, citation, and elaboration. And because of those short synthesis articles, it was very easy for them to use all four of those in each of their body paragraphs to cite their claim, to find their evidence, cite it, and then elaborate. So because it was a very small targeted area, it was very easy for them to practice that very specific technique, and they got very, very proficient.
So,
They talk about like
how they show how
The biggest surprise for me when I started using more collaborative structures during this FSA prep was I found that I stopped rescuing them so much. Sometimes in order to keep going, I would kind of give them the answer a little bit so that we could move along. But when they were in pairs, what started happening was, instead of me rescuing them, I would say to them, well, let's discuss it with your partners. And then they would start to talk about it, and I stopped rescuing them, and they were doing more of the work, which is, I think, what we really want them to do.
was that something that you took from your own knowledge, or was that something that you read in the text? Yes, so that's what made that incorrect, right? Yeah. Right, you have to remember now, that's why A wasn't the right answer, was because you were using that from your own knowledge.
I had an aha moment with one of my students just the other day, and it was a wonderful moment for me. And I was reading over a piece of writing that she had, and she turned to me and she said, "You're not saying anything," and she goes, "It must be bad." And I looked at her and I said, "Absolutely not. This brings me so much joy, this piece of writing." I said, because what you need to understand is at the beginning of the year, you were writing things, just your thoughts down on a topic. And what I see here is you using the technique that we've been practicing. If you look, here is your claim. Here is the evidence that you just got from the text, and you're citing it. And then you just use one of the analysis sentence starters that we've been practicing, and now you're elaborating. And this gives me so much joy that I'm speechless. And that was just such a moment for me, and it was a moment for her too, because she was so excited, and we were so proud together because we did it together, and it was just a really great moment for both of us. And so to see that much growth in a student was just a really great moment for both of us. Gosh. Okay, so as a first-year teacher, it was just amazing having these coaches come in and help and be there with me to help me. I'm just somebody who would, I just want all of the resources I can to do the best that I can for my students, and having them come in and show me, how to get to those standards, how to break those standards down, unpacking them, to make sure that I'm hitting all of the targets, to make sure that I can get the most student growth for each of them, I think was the best thing that could have happened.